call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Putin? Here. Boyden?
Unable to make it this evening.
Haverly?
Here.
Chesley?
Here.
Dumont?
Unable to make it.
Flood Giroux?
Here.
Knott?
Here.
Kugelmeyer?
Here.
Liberty?
Here.
Martin?
Here.
Nishu?
Here.
Red McGee?
Here.
Toto Lawrence?
Here.
And no student rep?
Here.
Can I have your name?
We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the M.S.A.D 49 Board of School Directors accept the minutes from the October 4th, 2018 board meeting?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Ron, seconded by Tim. Any discussion? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Opposed? Abstain? 9, 0, 2. Before we go too far, I would like to take a moment to introduce our student rep. With us this evening is Haley Hersey. Did I say that right? Yeah. Thank you. Haley is a Fairfield resident. She's a junior at Lawrence High School, and Haley is very active. I thought I was busy, but I think she actually outdoes me. Haley is a member of Pride of the National Honor Society. She's a member of the Student Senate. She has been class president for 3 years. She is the theater stage manager. She is the student technical director of the Williamson Performing Arts Center, and she's a member of the speech team, and she thinks she's got a couple of other activities, but she just couldn't remember them. So in a few minutes, we will do Haley's report, but let's move on and do our citizens' input first. So, Stephen.
Yes, Shirley. As a citizen and former board member and chairman, I would like to ask questions as to why some bylaws and policies are not being followed. The first would be under section 5 of bylaws, the chairman of the board not being elected for more than 3 consecutive years. Prior amount of continuous years served as chairman effectively eliminates that person from being chair for that next year. Second, section 9 of bylaws, alterations, amendments, or repeals of these bylaws may be made by majority vote of the board of directors at any regular meeting, providing notice of proposed change has been given to each director at least 72 hours prior to said meeting. It will be discussed that meeting and voted on the next meeting. Third, this is on the school board policy, BBA, school board powers and responsibilities. Fourth, and then we can discuss that later, fourth will be school board policy, school board member ethics. Then there's also school board policy, policy adoption amendment by law and policy proposals and suggested amendments to or revisions of existing policies or bylaws shall be submitted to all members of the board and to the superintendent prior to the regularly scheduled meeting in which such policies and amendments and revisions be discussed. A vote for adoption shall take place at the next succeeding regular meeting, and action shall be by majority vote. Minutes of each meeting shall reflect any meetings and action taken. So tonight, I would like to have action to replace the current seated chair.
Steve, to address the last meeting, I forget the date, well, I could look right here, on October 4th, have you read the,
Yes, I have a copy of the bylaws.
no, not the bylaws,
No,
but
the
the
minutes.
the meeting of the last minute. We ran into that problem, and as it was my understanding, as well as some of the other board members, is that we had talked about eliminating that provision. And we thought that it had been done. And, just a second, and so Shelley was elected, and then, you know, we found out that it hadn't been changed. When we saw the bylaws, you know, again, the next time we saw them, it hadn't changed. And so, at the last meeting, I made an amendment, I asked for an amendment to the bylaws, a one-time amendment, you know, so that we could keep her in the position for 4 years, for this school year, and then revert back to the 3 years. Because after thinking about the 3 years, it was a good, to me, that's a good thing, you know, you don't accumulate too much power, gives everybody a chance to share, so,
May I respond?
yeah, sure.
Discussing policies or bylaws does not make it in the minutes of the meeting and does not make a vote. Discussing it and thinking about it does not make it correct. Making an amendment to a bylaw has to be done as the procedure in bylaws is stated. So you cannot make a retroactive amendment or vote on a bylaw because it was wrong in the first place. Read your laws. You cannot make retroactive because that person only had 3 years. That's correct.
Right.
That person only had 3 years. You cannot be chairman of the board and ask for the bylaws to be changed because you are no longer chairman.
Well,
Read your bylaws,
she-
because check with your council.
Shelley never, what's the council got to do? Our
Your
council, you mean
will
the
tell you if you
legal
did it
council?
correct.
But we make the bylaws for us.
That's true, but you can't change a bylaw retroactively.
We didn't change it retroactively, Steve. What we did is we made an amendment to the bylaws.
Mhm.
One-time amendment for a limited period of time. We changed it. It's done.
Read your bylaws on amendments.
It was done. We're already done with it.
Fine, it's fine.
It's a wrong vote.
Okay.
All right, we will review the actions through our legal counsel and we'll report back. Okay? Any other citizens' input at this time?
There is.
Yes, Stu?
My name is Stuart Kinley. I'm from Fairfield. I have a concern and a request. My thought and concern is that if the board takes an action that violates their bylaws, is that action legitimate? And my guess is when you take such an action that violates the bylaws, that's essentially void. I'm concerned because when I was chair of the board, there was no time limit on how many terms you could serve. So that's a relatively recent occurrence, and I think the people here, most of you sitting around the table, were the ones that set it at 3 years. So I don't think you can complain that you didn't have, excuse me. I don't think you can claim that you didn't have knowledge. My request is very simple. I notice under the bylaws that you are changing to one board meeting a month, and you will have committee meetings on the first Thursday of the month. My request, as I said, is that be publicized. I kept checking for this week's board meeting on the website, and it appeared today, but back a number of years ago, it was common that a local reporter would attend board meetings. There was generally a piece in the paper about actions the board expected to take at their next meeting, and the reporter reported on it. That's gone now. So I would encourage the board and the superintendent to put timely announcements as to the time and place of meetings and also the agenda. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
if I may. We are, thank you for the feedback. Lori and I, working with revising the district website, and we plan to create a folder for the school board and definitely update that as soon as possible. So I
That
do
would be
appreciate the feedback. We will make sure to do that.
And we do right now, Stu, have I don't know how far it goes
I
out,
went
but
out
it's
the
an
whole year.
agenda that goes, meeting times and places and everything for the whole year. It's a calendar basically for the school board that Dr. Naaman put together.
Definitely we will do that, and I appreciate the feedback. I think we're working on it, so I need to speed it up. So I will make sure to do that,
Thank you.
and I appreciate it.
Any further
Can
input?
Just real quick, to speak to Mr. Grenier, I would ask you to put your objections and your things into writing and present that writing. You're asking us to do for a legal opinion.
May I
Please,
approach?
please present it in writing.
These are your board policies
I
in writing.
know the board
I
policies.
I stated
don't need to
exactly
see
your
that.
board
I
policies.
want
I'll take it.
your-
I'll take it.
Your objections and yours, what you
We
deem to
we
be
voted
fine.
to change
a
policy.
problem.
That's fine.
We have the
We'll,
right to
Please,
do that.
Okay.
please present it in writing so we can address it.
Okay,
Can you do that?
thank,
Don't need to, it's right there.
all right, that's
I
fine,
give
Gary.
it, I gave it to you in writing.
No,
got-
that does, you're not answering the
Here.
question.
Gary, that's
Never
fine.
mind.
You-
What,
That's fine, Gary.
now I know why you're here.
That's fine, Gary, thank you. Let's move on. Let's have our student report this evening.
Okay. So the Culture and Climate Report for Lawrence High School for October. On October 10th, the high school participated in the PSAT. On Wednesday, October 10th, the students who are in grades 9, 10, and 11 were given the opportunity to complete the PSAT designed by the College Board. The PSAT, which is aligned with the educational standards that our local curriculum is given for two important reasons: to provide the students with practice for the actual SAT in the spring, and to provide evidence for the administration and teachers on the abilities of our students to retain and use what we actually teach them. As students progress from grades 9 through 11, these 3 grades are given opportunities to be exposed to the types of questions they'll see on the SATs, as well as to provide feedback yearly on their academic growth, including areas of strength at or above the grade level and areas that they need additional work in, which is below the grade level. At Lawrence, even when the SAT was administered on a Saturday, our students always gave their best effort to do the work that was asked of them. Currently, as some of the four-year colleges move away from using the SAT as a tool to measure likelihood of success in college, our state community colleges are using the results for student placement in English and math classes. These results are impacting more of our students as a result, and we are seeing more students taking math all 4 years and looking to utilize opportunities in English classes to hone their reading and writing skills. Secondly, the results from the PSAT and the SAT are used to identify areas we as a school and our departments need to focus on. We break down the data into the various subgroups reported to see what aspects of our curriculum are in need of additional time and focus. The school-wide emphasis last year was on strategies for reading text. This year, the English department and the math department have identified areas from the PSAT and the SAT results to focus energies on. While the freshmen through juniors were working on the PSATs, the seniors had options. In effort to maintain a positive testing environment, permission was granted for seniors to use that Wednesday, October the 10th, as a day to aid them for life after high school, or to do community service. We had the seniors who took advantage of the day go to visit a college that had programs they wished to learn more about. Seniors also had the option to job shadow an adult currently working in a career the senior has interest in. Eric Brown organized a trip to the Maine Medical Center for students interested in medical careers, where they met with doctors, nurses, and therapists. Other students did community service, some on their own, while a group of about 24 students helped out in our towns to clean up areas identified by town officials as needing attention. Some seniors who visited the medical center in Portland had an experience in itself. There were many different things discussed throughout our time being there. The people that organized this trip went out of their way to have people in many fields throughout the hospital come up and speak to them about their experiences and their careers and how they could get there if they wanted to. There were people from radiology, respiratory therapy, nursing, and multiple different people from the laboratory that came up to speak with them. They were very informative and detailed about their careers, and they made sure that if any of the seniors were interested in that specific field, they got extra details. Many of the seniors had questions, and they were very clearly answered thanks to all the wonderful people that came and met with the seniors. They were also brought on a very interesting tour throughout the blood laboratory. There were so many interesting machines down in the lab, and the woman that led the tour let them see some blood smears under the microscope. It was overall an amazing experience, and a lot of information was expelled. Big thanks to Liz Fortier for allowing us to venture through the hospital and explore some different career opportunities for ourselves. The Lawrence High School Council met on Wednesday, that same Wednesday in the evening. The Lawrence High School Council had their first meeting, and the meeting was well attended with 7 parents and 4 teachers present. Discussions focused on the role of the council, followed by current student data on PSAT and SAT scores, attendance, and behavior data. After reviewing the academic data, the council gave approval of the academic goals for the departments. Next meeting, the council will be looking at developing a school climate goal, report out on major happenings at the school board level, and parent concerns and ideas. The school-wide assemblies that we have monthly. On Wednesday, October 3rd, students and staff gather to recognize both students and teachers who have made a positive impact on the school and others in the building. The faculty honored freshman Mila Bellacioni, sophomore Zoe Williams, junior Sydney Bridger, and senior Bryn Maya. All 4 were recognized for being role models for their peers in classes and throughout their involvement in school activities. The Student Senate also recognized Bethany Grenier, math teacher, and Dan Brannigan, science teacher, for their commitment to their students, whether in the classrooms or not. The Mid-Main Technical Center recognizes Lawrence students. The administration and faculty recognized students for excellence in the classroom in their respective class. Lawrence High School had 4 students recognized: Hunter Roy for construction technology, Ethan Cochran for information technology, Iva Janess for medical careers, and Kyle Carpenter for electrical technology. Lawrence High School students celebrate Homecoming Week. A long-standing tradition here at Lawrence has been Homecoming Week. Students have been participating in that whole week with the dress of the day with Blackout Day, Decades Day, Color Day, and Blue and Gray Day. As well, the students have been busy creating thematic hall decorations and floats. The spirit really blooms on Friday of Homecoming Week with the pep rally in the Folsom Gymnasium, a parade with class floats and floats from various groups in our communities, a Friday night under the lights football game, followed by the homecoming dance on Saturday evening. A couple of class officers from each of the classes shared what their classes were doing for their themes. The class of 2019's homecoming work. The senior class of 2019 chose the game of life as our homecoming theme. We thought this theme represented our class, our school, and our community very well, as it represents how Lawrence had prepared us for our own game of life. Our doors follow Larry the Bulldog through his game of life and highlight some of the biggest moments in our lives. Our float has a large 3D spinner that resembles the spinner from the game and actually spins. We wanted to show our appreciation for what the school has done for us, and our theme allowed us to do just that. The class of 2020's homecoming work. The class of 2020 spent their junior year homecoming week and prep time encased in the spectacular world of superheroes. Members of the class that joined in the festivities took part in tracing, outlining, coloring, cutting, and pasting to make their doors for the competition the best they have looked in their high school career. Marvel and DC characters were used to show the school's mascot, Larry the Bulldog, call in his hero friends to help defeat Skowhegan. An arch similar to that of the gate to Gotham City from Batman, lined by buildings, is shown on their float. Stars, streamers, and heroes decorate the float as well. Teamwork, drive, and lots of school spirit was used by the class of 2020 to complete their goal. The class of 2021's homecoming work. This week, class of 2021 worked hard after school all week long. We had more students help out with our door decorations, as well as the float this year than who we had last year. All of us had so much fun working late and working hard. We had a few issues with certain things with the doors at first, but we put them up perfectly just in time. We had so much fun with all the motivated people who worked together again this year. The class of 2022's homecoming work. On behalf of the Freshman Student Council, we would like to tell you our theme is Hollywood. We tried making certain doors match and be spread out. We have roughly 4 or 5 different types of doors. Our float is going to have a Hollywood sign and 2 people on a red carpet, with paparazzi taking pictures of them and our mascot and the Skowhegan coach in the corner crying, not getting any attention. The side of our float will say Class of 2022 and Beat Skowhegan. The sports and extracurricular report. The fall sports season is winding down quickly. Teams have been holding senior nights to thank those people who have stayed with the sport for their 4 years of high school. The boys' football team is currently 2-4 and ranked 5th in the Pine Tree Conference, Northern Division. They will play Skowhegan on Friday night in their homecoming contest. Skowhegan is currently ranked 1st in the PTC, and a victory would all but assure the Dogs of hosting a first-round playoff game here at Lawrence on October 26th. October 12th will also be the senior night. Before the game, the 15 seniors, along with their parents, will be called out onto the field to be honored for their hard work and dedication. They also won that game, so. The girls' field hockey team recently completed their regular season. They finished the year with a 9-5 record and a 6th seed in the upcoming MPA tournament. They will face Winslow next Tuesday at 3 o'clock on the road. They held their senior night on October 4th and recognized 5 seniors along with their parents for being 4-year players on the field hockey team. The field hockey team unfortunately lost that game. The boys soccer team completes their season next Tuesday in Newport. They are currently 2-9 and have 3 games to finish in the season. The last 5 games, the team has lost by only a single goal in each game, which shows the growth this young team has demonstrated throughout the year. The soccer team on October 6th recognized 6 seniors who will be leaving Lawrence after 4 years. The boys soccer team is also wearing blank and pink jerseys this month to recognize the fight that people who are fighting with breast cancer. This is an annual event that both the boys and girls soccer teams have participated in for a number of years. The girls soccer team is also completing their season next week. They currently have a 1-10 record and have 3 games remaining on the schedule. They will be honoring their seniors during Tuesday night when they face Nokomis at 6 p.m. here at Lawrence. The girls will also be participating in the fight against breast cancer, and they pay tribute to those who are afflicted with this dreaded disease by wearing pink uniforms in the remainder of their home games. The cross-country team will be participating in the KVAC Championship on October 13th and the Northern Maine Regional Meet next Saturday in Belfast. Golf did well this season, with 1 player making it to the state match. Marching band received recently an extremely high score of 4 stars. Vocal Vibe is also starting off their season, and theater is working on their production of Cinderella. Other groups in the school that are currently active are the Student Senate, Pride, the Civil Rights Team, National Honor Society, History Club, Math Team, Speech, Debate, Robotics, JMG, and there are a couple more. The Lawrence Athletic family is also working to help the family of a former student whose father has been diagnosed with terminal cancer. The football and soccer teams have both donated the proceeds of their 50-50 raffles to the family to assist them with the costs associated with dealing with this awful disease. There has been some concerns surrounding the new start time adjustment. As the school year opens and first quarter is beginning to draw to a close, students are adjusting to the switch in new school start time. While some students like the change, there's also a lot of discontent with the change. When I asked some of the peers in my school what they thought of the time, they had lots to say. Senior Haley Higgins says, "I like being able to sleep in the morning, but at the same time, I like to be out of school early enough to have time to go to an appointment and make it back in time for my rehearsals." Another perspective is, "I prefer getting up early and getting out early. I prefer getting out earlier because there were people who had rehearsals and practices that went until at least 7, and now that it is getting pushed back even further. So how are we as students supposed to be involved in extracurriculars, involved in class activities, finish at least 2 hours of homework, supposed to maintain social lives, jobs, and maintain a healthy sleep cycle? The extra 30 minutes is not enough time to compensate for the change," says Senior Manny Kahn. Most people who have voiced their opinions on the change in start time are not in favor of it. Something needs to be done to address the change in school start time. The students should have had a bigger say in this time change. Most students and families didn't get notice of the change until it had already been made. I know that there was probably the proposal for the change was in district newsletter or school board agenda, but in this day and age where everyone is so busy with schoolwork, sports, activities, and family time, it can be difficult to read a newsletter or attend to the school board meetings. Bullying and harassment and discrimination. Despite the student engagement in the various groups in our school, there's still a big problem in the school around bullying, harassment, and discrimination. This year, there are more exchange students than in the past, and there are lots of offensive comments that can be heard throughout the halls. Students throwing around the N-word, derogatory comments about people of the LGBTQ community, and the violation of minority safety. When these issues are made aware to people in power in the school, we need to make sure consequences are clear and more sternly enforced. I was made aware that M.S.A.D does a program similar to having people from different backgrounds, for example, people of color, members of the LGBTQ community, people of different religions that other students may not be as familiar with, and have mini groups where students talk and engage and raise awareness while hopefully encouraging acceptance. If we as a school and community want to make any difference and/or improvements in our school, we first need to take action in making our school a more open and accepting and safe place.
Good job.
Thank you
Very
very
nice.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I can visualize
Madam
just
Chair,
what the floats
can-
look like.
can she
Very
leave now?
detailed.
She has a lot
Yes,
of
I've
stuff.
already informed her that she's got
Okay.
a lot going on. She is welcome
We
to
appreciate it.
thank you very much. Yeah, we're going to adjust the agenda slightly. We have a couple of people here that the superintendent would like to do his report early for this reason.
So I just want to do a superintendent report, so we get an opportunity to go through it, and then we do the agenda. As you know, I started the Student Recognition Award, and one purpose was to have recognition award as well as the unsung hero. And when I met Mr. Alley, he basically had expressed the interest to complete his degree diploma, and he had already taken many courses to complete his dream of completing the diploma. He, when I met with him, as I told him that I thought I was very much proud of him to take the initiative, because I wanted him to be part of the whole culture and climate of the school, and he is missing 3 credits. So what he's going to do for us, working with the social study history teachers, to present to the classroom, and working with 2 other students, visual and basically history, where we do a presentation and a question and answers through a visual history of the time and the whole conflict and the challenges he had gone through. And I think that would be very inspiring to our students. That's going to be continued on. So for that reason, not only is my first student of the month, but Mr. Alley is also my first unsung hero. If I may ask the board, can you guys come here and take a picture with him holding the sign?
Let's go over there, let's go over here. We got the room.
Here, I get it, you want, Mr. Alley, if you want to come over here, we're gonna get a picture. Where's, do you
Yes.
want somebody to take a? Oh, okay. I'll take a picture.
Yes.
Oh, no, you gotta get in the picture. He wants to get us all in the picture.
You gotta be like a student, and you're gonna stay right next to you. I'm very proud of you. Him and his wife also planning to go to prom. You said you are.
No, I am. No, I am. I have my jacket on and I should be able to
I know.
tell.
What a bunch of.
So, so,
You already know.
that's right.
It was like old
So-
man's outing.
So, again, I'm very proud of you, and I think I couldn't start with a better student of the month than Mr. Alley. Also, I wanted to just, very late news that I'm very proud of is that Patricia Hughes, our adult education director, has been named 2018 Adult Education Outstanding Administrator. Patricia, can you come here? Can we take a picture with her too? Can you guys take a picture?
Oh, we gotta get up, do another, Breza wants another picture.
Just him, just him.
He's big on
Oh, come on.
She's gonna hold the sign.
I mean, you are technology.
I'm very proud of her.
That's what I got last
All right, make me look good.
We gotta go.
Ronnie, we don't have that filter.
Oh, that was good.
That hurt me.
The timing was perfect.
I can't get it. Can you? There we go. Got it.
What did you say at the time? The filter is not there?
I mean,
Hey, you don't need it.
just Ron.
Don't make me look like a panda or something.
I can't make, you made yourself.
Thank you. Congratulations. We're gonna be there to, at that dinner. We're gonna be there at the dinner.
Patricia, I think that also comes with a bonus too. I'm not sure, but I think I read that somewhere.
So, to finish up my report, if I may I start with Albion Culture Climb Report, Albion Fairfield?
Oh, certainly. Well, we're doing a lot for Halloween, it seems, in Albion. The sixth grade is holding a huge fundraiser called the Trail of Terror. It's going going to take place at the Royce House on 195 China Road on Saturday, the 20th and the 27th, from 6:30 to 9:30 to help support the sixth graders' field trip to Boston. They're going to have activities in the barn for younger students, a bonfire, food sale, and a quarter-mile of Halloween Trail Terror. I believe that the high school football team is also helping because the students that attend Albion Elementary have siblings on the football team. We will also have our PTA trunk or treat, which will take place here at the school on the 26th from 6 to 8. And on Halloween, our tradition is to have a little Halloween costume parade, which will have right around dismissal at about 2:15, so the parents can clap at the little parade. For Fairfield, if you don't mind, I'll continue.
Sure.
Our kindergarten is having a fall festival family event on October 26th. And also, our kindergarten teachers and staff took part in the homecoming parade. I don't know if you all saw us last Friday. It was the teacher's idea. I'd like to say a special thank you to Heather Quimby and her husband for wrestling up and arranging a truck for the float. Our art teacher worked with the kindergartners to help decorate it. The pre-K passed out crayons with our district phone number so we could get some pre-K recruits, of course. And the kindergarten teachers passed out I Love Fairfield primary pencils. We ran out by the time we got to Main Street. So next year we know we need more school supplies if we're gonna do it right. And we're all in because we had a great time.
That's awesome.
And I think Albion will want to float now too.
Thank you. If I may, Benton, Brian?
Good evening. Hopefully I had a chance to read through my report. I'll try to capture some of the main points. But one of the things we continue to emphasize is our school culture and building that and making sure it's a positive place, a safe place for all students. And we continue down the road of the PBIS, and we're just trying to make sure that we are providing a lot of positive supports for student and reinforcement. So we instituted our pause, which the other schools have something similar. We continue to relook at that and find ways to keep it going and keep it positive. And so if you have any questions about that, I captured a short article in the BVB. We also had our lockdown and evacuation drill, but we actually did a correction to this. I wrote this last week, and we had planned on doing our evacuation drill this week, but because of the weather, we did postpone it. So that will be in the future. So that's just a correction from the sheet. I assumed it was going to go well, which is what it says, but we'll see next week. I'm sure it will. We also had our bus safety, which our bus drivers came and they walked through all the grades as far as safe practice around the bus. It went very well, and the bus drivers that come and work with our students and our teachers do a wonderful job, and I'm always impressed. Right now we have fire safety, and our younger grades are going through that right now, and I think it's our fourth grade. They actually do the smokehouse, so we're looking forward to that. And several of our teachers, along with other teachers in the district, went to the Actum conference, which great feedback, and where they're learning kind of new technology and how to integrate it into their instruction. And so we're continuing to refine that, and technology is constantly changing, and so we're always trying to stay on the cutting edge of that. And the teachers came back regenerated, and so I'm excited to see what that brings to our classrooms. We continue to focus on our average daily attendance and specifically our chronic absenteeism rate, and it is something that we are looking at very closely. So I wrote about that in my report, so if you have any questions. But one thing that we're doing to kind of publicize our ADA for the different grade levels, we have new bulletin boards, so if you get a chance to come into the school, you'll see it broken down by grade level. So we're having kind of a friendly competition between the grade level teachers. And I'm just happy to say that that's something that is often in our conversations, attendance. You know, what issues, what obstacles are we running up against? And the teachers are talking about it. They're talking with Pam and myself and the guidance counselors. We're working with Deputy Day. So it's something that's really on the front of our minds really all the time to support families. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that number continue to improve. In terms of RTI is one of our big focuses this year, as it has been, and we continue to look for ways to just provide instructional interventions for our students, and I spoke in here a little bit about our guided reading groups. We're trying to just make sure that students are getting regular interventions every single day that need it, and it's not an easy process, a lot of conversations, need a lot of support, a lot of professional development, and that's where Sandra Mitchell right now is working with our teachers on doing self-analysis and setting short-term and long-term goals, and doing and progress monitoring along the way. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, and,
I just have a
yeah, go ahead.
Brian, I was just wondering if you've done any, you've had excellent, spectacular success with having parents involved in the open house, the parent-teacher conferences and
Yes.
whatnot. So, it's like a fair there. It's a lot of
A lot
participation.
going
Have we looked at all at whether there's any correlation between the people that don't participate, the parents that don't participate, and those that have chronic absenteeism? I just like to,
I think that's a great,
That's a good point.
that's some data we can look at. I'll bring that up in our next meeting.
Yeah.
And we can break apart that data. I imagine there is a correlation, but not necessarily. I think sometimes they come to those families that struggle with absenteeism, come to those events, but there are just a lot of other factors.
Sure, yeah, absolutely,
involved when it comes to getting, multiple children from,
Yep.
in our different, say in the junior high, the high school, and say the elementary school, getting them to where they need to be, and I think there's just a lot of barriers there, but there definitely could be.
No, that's a good point.
Thank you.
We gotta do that, that's a good point. District-wide, at the secondary, we have respond to intervention. At the elementary, we have positive behavior intervention program. And system-wide through the whole school, we just try and change the culture and climate of punishments into proactive approach to families and the kids. And those are two models that we continuously work through the elementary and secondary together. And we have positive supports through the workshops and resources. The bottom line is we want to know where our kids are academically and emotionally as we move from pre-K to 12. And when you have respond to intervention, you need to know where they are so you can intervene when there's academic or challenges of behavior. So your resources always addresses where the needs are through respond to intervention. Just wanted to address that. That's what we're working together. And principal is doing a great job. Clinton?
The first thing that I had on the front was a picture of, this is a sixth grade teacher, Susan Condon, in a one-on-one literacy conference with one of her students. But that happens in all of our classrooms, so I just wanted to make you aware of, part of that program is that the teachers sit down and conference with each student as they're writing to figure out maybe what stumbling blocks they have and how to move past them and how to make their writing a little better. And we just happened to capture the picture of this story in a sixth grade classroom. Our kindergarten classes visited Lemieux Apple Orchard, so there's some cool pictures of the kiddos there and what they did at the orchard. That's always a fun time for them. We do have Students of the Month every month, so that will be a recurring theme when you take a look at our culture and climate, who our Students of the Month are. And what happens there is some of the teachers choose the students, in some of the classrooms they ask the students to choose who they feel is a Student of the Month and why. So that varies on how they're chosen. But they all get to have lunch with me, sponsored by Clinton Variety, sponsored pizza. We have a wonderful parent who makes cookies for snack. And then at the monthly assembly, they're recognized for what they've done for being Student of the Month. And of course, the big story on the back page is that pre-K is back in Clinton, so we couldn't not report on that. So we're very, very excited about that. So Penny Porter actually wrote this for me and took some pictures of the kiddos in her pre-K room. And it's so exciting to see them back and to see their siblings and cousins and friends when they come in off the bus, because the pre-K starts before our start time. Penny has been wonderful about, that's when they're eating breakfast. So the kiddos can come off the buses and they go in and see their brother or sister or cousin and say hello when they're eating breakfast. And it's just a really nice feeling that we sort of have like our whole family back together because our 4-year-olds are back with us. So thank you so much for your support in doing that.
Thank you.
It's really meant a lot to us, parents, the students, last school council meeting. Thank you.
So when I visited all day at Fairfield Elementary, I went to the fire department with the kindergarten and first grade. I was the first one going to a truck. I think the captain wouldn't let.
Wouldn't let you drive.
So that was exciting for me, I just have to tell you. But we took pictures with the kindergarten.
I think you've been
But-
enjoying going to all the schools
I do.
more than,
I
and
love
you can notice all the pictures that come out. He's right in front and center in
having
the
fun.
pictures, the kids.
I'm also learning what the games are, like a
Oh, yes. the
green
name
light.
tags.
Red light, green light.
I had no idea.
Students taught them that this
Oh, I knew there, I was looking for a green light and a red light.
It's the way we run the board.
new student.
Yeah. It's the way we run the board meetings.
The kids actually made me a watch. I had to wear the watch all day, so I had to fake the time.
violation
Yeah.
bylaw?
So Lawrence Junior High School, if I may.
Well, I'm here on behalf of Mr. Boynton,
Yes.
and I can't top a fire truck, but we'll give you a little brief of what's been going on at our junior high school. So our robotics team is up and running, and they're prepping for their regional competition coming up in Jay. And the theme this year is long duration for space travel, so they have to research the needs of what folks would need if they were taking a long spaceship. They actually had a guest speaker come in and talk about using fish to feed the food cycle for that task. We also have many community services projects going on in our homerooms. So several homerooms collected pet supplies to assist with a pet supply drive sponsored by the 5 Counties Credit Union, and that food was greatly appreciated. Some people don't know that in between the high school and the junior high school, there's a little courtyard that has some wonderful plants planted and a couple of apple trees. So 2 of our teachers and their homerooms went out and picked the apples and put them in our fruit cart. The first batch was a little bit bitter because they weren't ripe enough, and they're not sure whether they're Portlands or Macs or what, but it was well received by the students, and they were actually picked right from the school courtyard itself. Another homeroom has trying to increase morale in our building, and they put up a positivity display where they have slogans of positive words to try to promote a positive thinking and a mindset amongst our students. This year we've welcomed approximately 30 new students to our community, and it is tradition to the first week of October to have a luncheon with these students, and our advanced art class made bulldog ornaments for them that was given to each student in a goodie bag. And as we talked to those students about what they liked, they just repeatedly said they love the environment of our school, they find the students welcoming and the faculty welcoming, and they really enjoy being a part of our community. And then to wrap it up, our library was celebrating Teacher Read Week last week, and our librarian had students write quotes from their favorite books on fall leaves, and they displayed around the building. Faculty also participated, so the Fall into Reading theme is up and running in our school, and it just makes it look great. So that's Mr. Boynton's report.
Thank you so much. And I know our student rep did a great job at the high school. Mark, do you want to add anything?
I do. I want to thank you. Dr. Dings showed up at a pep rally, was recognized by a student body, and he was in.
I couldn't hear anything because they were just so loud.
He was in our parade, which was awesome. And when I showed up at that dance, because I kind of jokingly invited him, Dr. Dings was there to help chaperone. 2 dances, then he was out.
No, thanks, Mark. That was fun. I was just looking forward to dress up, you know? because-
He threw out 2 bags of candy during the parade, too.
Thanks for getting that. I was going so fast.
That was
I had to
before we
slow
hit
down.
Main Street.
I had to slow down. Thank you, Mark. You have my personnel report on professional development we conducted, as well as a financial report and enrollment, as I mentioned, there are 23 or more students, which we mentioned, and our articles. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, and back to the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So next up on the agenda is old business, the generator purchase and update. The information on that was there.
Yeah, I put, there was some question about, we wanted to know, what did we do? What were the decisions? When do we make? So we did a search, we attached the minutes. There was a finance and facility discussion, clearly. Perhaps the detail of the amount wasn't there, but there was a discussion. There was a vote.
Said 50,000.
Yeah, it said 50,000 at first.
That's right.
My whole point last time was just it kind of crept up on us.
Yeah.
You know, that's, I mean, perhaps I just wasn't listening. That happens sometimes because I talk a lot and listen little. But you know,
Strike that in the notes, please.
people know that if they watch. But the thing is like, it went from like 50 grand and we get the final bill at 100 grand.
Right, I agree with
Which I
that.
still would have voted for. We still need the thing. I think it's a wonderful, I think you can diminish some of the costs through, you know, grants or whatnot. But it's just the point, it's like,
Right.
that's old business for us and it's not the way to do it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's a good point, so, you know,
Well, I had the same feeling as Ron. I think we voted on spending $50,000 for a generator, and
Yeah.
and we spent double that, so.
Yeah, and we started with actually a propane or LP generator, and then
Right.
we ended up with a diesel, because we couldn't get, and I recall all that, but it's
Yeah.
just, when we were presented with the,
Original,
you
right,
know, I think it was 97.5, right?
right.
yeah.
That's a big chunk of change,
Yeah.
different than, you know, $50,000 will do a lot of stuff. I saw all the school
So-
lunches do a lot.
So we're gonna make shift, I think Tara and I were talking about, when we get to these points,
Yeah,
we're gonna stick to the number, any updates, you have to come back to you.
come back to the board, right?
So we're gonna do that, I think that's our goal, and that's the whole point of transparency.
Super.
Yeah, I appreciate
That's
that. Okay. Next up is the math curriculum update, Envision Math Program, some information on Envision.
Yep, you have a presentation?
I do have a presentation.
All right.
Can you switch it?
That's good.
Are we good? Okay, that was a little bit of glitches to start this, but
Whatever.
that's all right. So I just want to start with a quick couple slides about the differences between the Common Core State Standards and Envision Math 2.0, just to kind of clarify that. So what the Common Core Standards are, they were adopted in Maine in 2011 and implemented in 2012-2013 school year statewide. The Common Core is not a curriculum. It's a clear set of shared goals and expectations for what knowledge and skills will help students succeed. And then local teachers and principals and school districts decide how to then implement those and teach the students. So they establish clear and consistent guidelines for what every student should know and be able to do in math and in English arts from kindergarten through 12. And they establish what students need to learn, but don't dictate how teachers should teach. How schools implement these standards is entirely a local decision. And that's where Envision 2.0 comes in. So if you remember correctly, we had Envision's, the first version of it for 4 years. We really liked that program. Unfortunately, Pearson decided they needed to make a little more money, so they were no longer going to be making that and said, if you want to continue with this, we need to purchase the next version, which is in the Envision 2.0. So at that time, we decided to purchase it for grades K through 8. Earlier than that, it was K through 6, and then 7 and 8 did the digits program. So now it is consistent K through 8. So it's one way to teach the Common Core State Standards. It includes lessons set up in a really specific way, and these lessons mirror the gradual release of responsibility instructional framework, where the teacher models the lesson or the new concept, and then the teacher supports the students as they learn that new concept, and then the teacher releases those students to work independently. It's also, other people know that as like a scaffolded approach. So Envision Math sets the scope and sequence for each grade level while adhering to the Common Core standards. It provides resources for the teachers and the students to use to help teachers teach and students learn. And it really focuses on mathematical practices, in-depth understanding of math concepts, and individualized instruction through both a print and a digital format. At this point, I would have demonstrated the books, but they are over here. They're beautiful books.
Yep.
They're beautiful books holding that up. So the program, even though it's K-8, it really is kind of broken down into 3 spans of K2, 3-5, and 6-8. They look a little bit different, have some different terminology, but basically K through 5 are extremely similar, and then 6 through 8 is a similar structure, but slightly different. So I just want to go through the components. Now, this program has a ton of different components, print and online. I'm not going to go over every single thing because I'd be here all night because there's just so much involved in it, but I'm going to go over the core pieces of it so you kind of have an idea of what a lesson looks like and what the students experience every day. So the first piece is just used in grades K through 5. Unfortunately, grades 6 through 8, it does not have this piece of it. It's called the Common Core Daily Review. It's a spiral review of the curriculum. It's a one-page worksheet. Typically, it's done independently for morning work, so the kids kind of come in, and as they're eating breakfast and getting themselves settled, this is on their desk, and they get going right on it. It's just kind of part of their daily routine. And then when everybody's done, or most of the kids are done, the teacher then reviews it with the students, having the students come to the board or answer questions, explain their thinking, and so on. So this is a, you can make that clearer, well, never mind. So this is an example, I know it's hard to see, but this is a 4th grade example, and on this, just this one sheet, there's problems that have multiplication, money, addition, subtraction, and place value, just on this one 4th grade math sheet that they spend about 15 to 20 minutes doing every day. So the next component, in K-5 it's called the Solve and Share. In grades 6 through 8 it's got just a little bit different name. So what that is, it's a problem or a hook to begin each lesson. We used to call that the problem of the day, but now they call it the Solve and Share. The students work independently or with a partner to solve the problem. They encourage productive struggle. It prepares the students for that day's lesson. And then once they've been given a few minutes to solve that or to try to solve that, they come kind of back together as a class. Students are able to explain their thinking and how they solved it, and there's usually more than one way to solve the problem. And that kind of gets their brains ready for that lesson. So this is one for 4th grade. And so it's topic 3, lesson 9. You can see the focus of the lesson is right up there in the corner. And then the teacher projects this using the LCD projector in her room, or his or her room, and then the students have this in their textbook. So they're doing the actual work right there. The teacher doesn't have to photocopy anything or anything like that. And the standards that it covers are right there as well. So in grades 6 through 8, they call it Solve and Discuss It instead, but again, very similar. The focus of the lesson is right there, and the students are encouraged to solve a problem any way they can, using multiple ways, and a lot of times they work with a partner to do this. So the next component, after they do the Common Core, they do that Solve and Share or Solve and Discuss, and then it moves on to the Visual Learning Bridge, and that's just a fancy way to say video. So they have a little video. It's anywhere between, video itself is between like 2 and 4 minutes, but with this discussion, it's closer to 10 minutes. So the video shows the new concept of the lesson. It's always embedded within a problem that they solve, and there's specific places that the students interact with it and answer questions, and so it's not just kind of the teacher standing there teaching by any means. And so this is through K through 5. There are also videos used in 6 through 8. They're just called something different. So in 6 through 8, it's set up a little bit differently. So the grade 6 through 8 lessons are designed to bridge more than one day or class period. And it's really up to the teacher to kind of decide, we're gonna spend one day on this, or we might spend 2 days on this. So there's several examples within that day's lesson. And some of the examples have a video, some of them just are a problem to solve. And then there's a try it part where the students have a problem to solve as well. So some of them have videos, some don't. It's designed to be interactive with the student participation throughout the entire math block. And that's a 6th grade example. It's kind of hard to see, but whoops. At the top of it, there's an essential question, and that's kind of also another kind of key focus of the lesson. So that's in the student book, but the teacher has the ability to use the LCD projector and put that right up on the board. And then the try it has a space for the students to actually do some work. So from there, the teacher moves towards guided practice. So the teacher chooses several problems to do with the class. The teachers typically model a couple of the problems, then they might have the students do a couple of the problems, then go back, then discuss those problems before students try them by themselves, and that's that gradual release or scaffolded teaching framework, where we're really just guiding the kids until they can work a little more independently. So for grades K through 2, that's kind of a visual, although I know it's a little bit blurry, and then 3 through 5, excuse me. And then 6 through 8 looks a little bit different. It doesn't say guided practice. The teacher obviously decides which problems to do together and then which problems the student's going to do independently. One of the interesting things about the 6 through 8 program is that they always have a key concept for each lesson, and it summarizes all the learning of the lesson. So this one I know it's hard to see, but that particular lesson dealt with decimals, and it was adding, subtracting, I want to say multiplying decimals, and that was just a summary of how to do all of those things, so the student can just refer right back to that if they need to. So after the guided practice, there's the independent practice piece, and that's again across all grade levels, even though it's going to look a little bit differently than independent in kindergarten does not look the same as independent in 8th grade, obviously. So the teacher usually circulates during this time while the students are working, and for especially grades 3 through 8, I would say, there's a lot of problems in the book, so the teacher doesn't assign all of them. They kind of pick and choose which ones to assign. K through 2, they can do all of them. And that's during that time when the students are working independently. The teacher will pull small groups for either added support, RTI intervention, and so that independent practice typically includes some computation problems as well as word problems, which require students to explain their thinking. There is quite a lot of writing in this program. And those are some examples of K2 and 3-5 and 6-8. So there's a lot of supplemental resources. And basically, if the teacher used everything that the program came with, they wouldn't teach half of the curriculum. They really have to pick and choose what's going to work for them. And sometimes, depending on the class, depending on the student, they might get different things. So that first part, reteach to build understanding, that's a worksheet. The teacher would need to print that out from her teacher resource book. And that is for those students that need a little extra support. Maybe some of those RTI kids or just a kiddo that didn't quite get that the first time. It has a little bit more added support just kind of built into that sheet. On the flip side of that is the enrichment sheets for those kids that might finish early or the concept came really quickly and really easily to them that day, so they might get to do the enrichment sheet. Again, the teacher prints that off. K through 8 all has some different kinds of vocabulary support. It's called different things at different grades, but that's another feature that the teacher can draw from. And some of the older grades have building mathematical literacy and also some additional practice sheets. And then there's online resources as well. So for K through 5, and I feel like I'm talking really fast, so I apologize if I am. So one of the online components obviously is that visual learning bridge, that video that they watch. However, there's actually another video included for each lesson. Some teachers use it. If the lesson goes 2 days, they might use it, or they use it as closure. And it's called Another Look. And it's basically usually about a 90-second video that just summarizes the learning, the new concept in a different way. So that's one of the pieces that's online, and the students have access to some of these. The daily quick check, it's a 5-question, multiple choice or short answer quiz, basically. That can be used for formative assessment. It's just 5 questions. The teacher assigns it to the kiddos. They get on their device. And we do have one-to-one devices, grades 2 through 8 now. And then grades K and 1 share iPads. So some teachers use that as a formative assessment piece. Practice Buddy is kind of neat. It's called Math Excel at the grade 6 through 8 level. And basically what it is, there's two practice buddies for each lesson. And again, the teacher would go and assign it. And it gives a problem, and up in the corner it has this little thing called question help. So it's basically designed just for the student to have practice. It's not informative assessment at all, but the student goes in, does some problems. If they get it wrong, or even if they don't get it wrong, they can get support from that question help. They can watch a video. They can have them walk them through the steps. They can have them show them another problem that's similar. And they get 3 tries to solve the problem. And so it really goes along with that growth mindset that we're promoting, that we just keep working at it, you'll get it. And it really encourages the kids to read through, like they want to get it right by that 3rd time because they have 3 chances. So it really does encourage the kids to kind of keep trying and to figure out what they did wrong. There's some online games that they can play. There's an adaptive practice, which is kind of neat. We're just really starting to use that at the elementary level. I think the grades 7 and 8 are using it a little bit more, but that's adapted to all of the students. It's based on any online work that they do. So any like quizzes or tests or any of the things that they've done on their computer through their account. And so if the teacher assigns it, all of the students, it looks different because it's based just on what they've been able to successfully complete or not complete. And so that's kind of neat. That one does not have the little question help piece to it. And then of course we have online topic tests as well. So again, grades 6 through 8, very similar. There's some videos that go with that go with those examples. That Math Excel, which is just like the practice buddy. There's lesson quizzes. They also have virtual nerd videos, which summarizes the learning. And they also have the adaptive practice and the online topic tests as well. So for the testing, this has been kind of the biggest shift, I think, for us. And I will say as far as the biggest adjustment for us at the elementary level, I don't think it's been as big of an adjustment at the junior high level, but the other Envisions that we use, we really gave the paper test and then they entered it online, and this one we're really, it's not as easy to do that. So the students in grades K through 8 take the end of the year test, and they do that in the beginning of the year, in the fall and the spring, excuse me, so that it shows growth. And then they have topic tests after each topic. So depending on the grade level, it depends on the topic test. So grades 6 through 8, I think, have 8 topic tests. Grade kindergarten has 14, first grade has 15, and then 1 through 5 has 16 topics that they do. And the students have the option to retest if they and their teacher deem it appropriate. So if they don't like their grade and they want to work harder and improve their score, they do have the option to do that. So for K2, they're just given the paper copy from the teacher assessment resource. We're not using the online testing at all for those kiddos. And then 3 through 8, they take the math test online. Some teachers do utilize the paper version as a workspace, so the students can show their work on that paper version. And some kids really like having that physical copy in front of them. So then we have a couple other resources in K6, excuse me. And these are not part of the Envision program at all. They're just extra resources that our district has purchased. So they're Fast Math and IXL, and they're completely different. So Fast Math is completely game-based, and it's all about fact fluency. So the kids go in, they take an assessment, they figure out where they are, they have facts that they're considered fast, and they know fluently, and then they have focus facts, which they almost know, and then they have facts that they're trying to learn, and they go through a lesson each day, each time they log on, and then they get to play games, and as they improve, they get to earn little like virtual prizes and unlock screens and things. And then with IXL, we've used IXL for years, and that's really just additional practice of those standards. It is aligned to Envision, so we actually have like a printout for each grade. So like it'll say topic 1 for first grade. You want to, assign these skill sets for the kids to do. So that's really kind of a neat thing that it does go along with Envisions for extra practice. And I know a lot of the teachers do really like that component. I think that is it. So, phew, I did a lot of talking. Thank you, Lori.
Oh, yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have some questions.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I asked for this, and the reason I asked for it is, there's multiple things. Obviously, both as someone who's really interested in numeracy and understanding the importance of students understanding the various different applications in math and becoming proficient in them. But also as a parent, now I've been through this with, third or whatever, and I have reservations about it on multiple levels, mostly with formative assessment. I just feel like the product makes it really hard to give, and I guess maybe it's being utilized in the middle schools and not so much in how it is in the elementary level. But the combination of the digital and the paper is With the test, I find a little bit problematic for a variety of different reasons, and I know that, like, I've watched, so what I really liked about the paper portion, right, is that the kid would do the homework, and then if they had trouble, they could come and you'd be like, okay, check your work, and you could go through it with it. Now at the middle school, they do their homework online, and it's totally like inefficient, because they can just keep, you know, they have whatever many times to get it, and then they can get it right, but there isn't a way to provide them real feedback, because if they don't understand the concept, they're not gonna understand that, like, help me buddy thing, right? Does that make sense?
I think I do, I think I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, so-
That like that piece you may not care for or whatnot.
But I just wanna talk about the formative assessment.
And
because-
well, and see, that
yeah.
is not used, that practice buddy or that math Excel is really not a formative assessment piece. So I don't know if that's.
So what would
you're
you guys
thinking.
then consider the formative assessment piece?
So, well, really, you think about the whole math block, the students are doing math. And so I think at the junior high, it's around 86 minutes, at the elementary school, it's about 90. And really, right from the get-go, that Common Core daily review, that can be used as a formative assessment if the teacher chooses to use that. The teacher is involved with the students, and the students are interacting the entire time.
Yeah, and I guess that's part of it, it's not clear to me, how the formative assessment takes place. And I see a disconnect in the product and the formative assessment and kind of making that leap. I don't know, I'm just, overall, I'm not 100% like happy with that product, and it's a lot of money. So I used to work publishing, and I know how much money that guy's costing you. And I'd be interested in, I guess, looking more about math scores and how they're, and how they're transitioning in the district. And if the cost of it is actually bearing fruit, and how many years you would think that would take, right? So at what point of a cycle would you be like, we've had enough assessment to feel like this program is making the difference given the financial outlay that we're going for the digital portion? I don't really necessarily have a problem with the paper. I just feel like the digital portion disconnects with the formative assessment. And this is my experience, which is the way that they scaffold it as far as concepts is the students do pretty well with their homework, then they ramp it up on your review topic, right? But then when you actually take the topic test, I feel that the language is tweaked a little bit different so that the stretch of the transfer of knowledge isn't always clear for kids. And I feel like it's in that transfer of knowledge that they're missing those nuances that Pearson, I can understand the other side, how Pearson probably designed that, but the transfer of knowledge point becomes where, and I don't wanna get all like crazy pedagogy with you about it, but I just feel like there's a disconnect there, and I watch it, and I just wanna say, my kid does really well in math. This isn't like, so, but I can only imagine how other parents are potentially struggling with that, and how they would be supporting their child. So I'll just leave it at that. What I'll probably do is have a more, like, one-on-one conversation.
Yeah, and I'm more than happy to meet with you, and I will
Write down your
say,
thoughts and send them to her.
Well,
I will say, I
I would
understand
say
what you're
the
saying, and every program has its pros and
Yeah,
cons.
right.
And I would say the cons for this program are those topic tests.
yes.
However, I also look at it as the big picture, and like, so for grades 6 through 8, they take 8 tests a year. They are doing math, so much math. Those little 8 tests, they are what they are. They are hard. They are very hard. The language of them is very hard.
Yeah, and they get weighted in a way, well, I guess that's part of it, which is, this also is the weighting of it, that I find, because,
I guess
again,
I'm not sure what you're doing.
okay, so if your
reading.
test, if your homework is worth X percentage, and then the test is worth more as a percentage, right?
Well, I think that depends on the teacher. The teacher
Okay.
uses their professional
So-
judgment on
Yeah.
what they grade and how they grade that.
Yeah.
But we have made tweaks with the test, I will tell you that. We're trying to keep the fidelity and the validity of
Right.
the program intact while also being fair to the students. So we met as grade level teams last year at the end of the year, and we did go through each test question by question. We took out some of the questions
Okay.
that were more challenging. And Pearson scores it hard.
Yeah.
So we were given permission that we can give partial credit. Like, that was like amazing.
Yeah,
We were
I
so
think
happy for that, because
Right.
some of these things have multiple parts, and a kid
Well, I
would
know,
do
and I didn't want to bring that up,
so
but
many
I'm glad
right,
to
and then
know.
they would get it wrong
Yeah.
because of that, but now they're getting credit for
Yes.
that, so that's really beneficial to the
And so I'm glad to know that my instinct wasn't wrong about the disconnect between
Well, it
the
is in my
knowledge
world.
of the quiz and the topic test. So I feel
It needs
okay,
to
be.
I feel validated about that.
It
I
needs
just
to be.
think overall, I will tell you, as somebody who's now been a coach for 5 years, and so I've seen the first
'Cause we're
program
not
and then
teaching
now the second
simple.
program.
What we
I'm
need to learn.
amazed, I'm blown away at what the students are doing.
Oh,
And I do like this program, and I think it's a really solid program, but no program's perfect. But, you know, I was in a 6th grade class a couple days ago, and there's a student in there that I've seen her, she's been an RTI student right along, I've seen her struggle. She was raising her hand and participating and explaining her thinking, and it almost made me want to cry. I was like, oh my gosh, it's just so amazing to see where this kiddo, because I know that she has struggled for 5 years. And I'm not saying she still doesn't struggle, she does, but the level of her thinking after being involved with this Envisions program since she was a 1st grader, it really just blew me away. And I'm seeing that day after day as I'm going into the classrooms. This year, I will tell you, has been smoother than last year. We had some bumps last year, and they were mainly around those tests. And part of it was, okay, how do we administer these? What are the expectations here? Why are our kids scoring so low, but they're doing really well in the daily work and whatnot?
Yeah, and I think that's still, I still see that, so we can have a follower, but I'm saying, we're spending a lot of money in the district, and this is something where, again, if kids are scoring well on homework, but then bombing the test, to me, that's a red flag in transfer of knowledge, right? Like,
Well, and I think too, I think maybe you have a little bit of a misunderstanding, well, I guess depending on what the homework is, that Math Excel, that Practice Buddy, it's designed to support the students. So if you're working hard at it, you should score well. You know what I mean? Because you do have 3 chances to score, to get the right answer. It's not designed as a formative assessment piece, so even though, like, whether the teacher counts it as a grade or not, I mean, that's something entirely different, I think whole different conversation.
Yeah.
Ron, did you have a
So I
question?
have some non-teacher questions.
Yeah.
All right, so, my first one is, how much time is, at the junior high school, is math time in a week?
Is it?
2 blocks a day.
2 blocks.
A day?
Two blocks.
So the blocks are 86 minutes a day, they're double blocks for math.
So they
And
do
for-
2 86-minute,
But we're
No,
not teaching,
186.
So it's 2 43 minutes, sorry.
2 43-minute blocks, so 86 minutes per day, 5 days a week.
but we're not teaching double
Okay.
content.
Right, we're not
Right.
teaching double content, that's what we
So,
learned.
okay, so they're doing 86 minutes a day. That's a lot of time. So
That's a lot of time.
that's most of the time in the day. Devoted. Okay, so then after that, and they're only taking 8 tests a year?
Yeah, in 8 months. I got a problem with that too.
Yeah, okay, so,
So, go
okay,
ahead.
so.
That's not a lot of testing.
This is a word problem.
This, all right, so if little Ronnie Liberty is in a class and he's not getting math, right, in the 8th grade, and, there's interventions in there, of course, but at some point, the teacher has to move on.
Right.
So what happens then? He just misses that? Too bad?
Well, I mean, I think that's been an ongoing problem, right? I mean, I don't think that's an Envisions
No,
problem.
no, I don't think, I'm not talking about Envisions, I'm talking about our math program, period, you know? Is that what we do? We just have to move on from there? We don't have any
We
other?
do to some extent, and that's where our interventions take place. We try to fill those holes as best we can, for sure. But honestly, by the time they get to 8th grade, there's a lot more holes to fill than there were in 1st grade.
Okay, and how many kids in the class right now in junior high? In the math class?
I'm not prepared to speak to that, I don't know what the average is.
20.
Maybe.
Brian, how many kids average in a class in elementary school?
It's been to about 20.
About 20. And so one teacher moving around trying to do guided with 20 kids, especially at the elementary grades.
Well, and you have to remember too that they do need different levels of support. So some kids get it and don't need a ton of support from
Right.
a teacher.
But the teacher has to look at each one to see what level of support they need, right?
Yeah, and they get left behind because they don't get pushed because they already got it.
Yes and no, but remember, there's all these different components. So as a teacher, you kind of know who's probably going to get
Well,
it.
let me just interject. So I volunteer regularly for the last couple of years now. I volunteer every Friday, all day long at an elementary school. And there are 15 kids in the class. And I know that there's a lot to be done with all those kids. I mean, not, you know, some of them are great and some are not. I don't see how, with 20 kids, an elementary school teacher is actually gonna be effective by themselves, you know, doing this kind of work. Just check, 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 check. How long's that gonna take in elementary school?
Well,
We don't, I know at Benton, we don't, it's not that much time. You know, they'll come in, they'll do the video, they'll move, you know. I just,
Because I recently learned about this, because my daughter is, and I don't mind admitting it, she's having some trouble with math herself. She's in first grade, she's not in kindergarten. But, is that because her teacher noticed it early and found it, is that she has someone who is working with her separately 5 days a week, which I'll tell you, when I was in school, that did not happen.
like, out of class?
Out of class.
so that's our Title I math intervention.
Yeah.
So what, she has to miss something else?
No, that's the greatest part, is that she stays for all of math, because that was also when I was in school, was that the students who had trouble in math got pulled out of math to learn math in a different room, so they were constantly
But
behind.
if you're pulled out of a classroom, you have to miss something,
Well, it's
other
like
than
the
lunch.
end of specials and a little bit of snack, I think, is what she was
It
telling me.
depends on the class. I think.
Yeah.
Yep,
I'm
Danielle.
sorry, Katie, to
Yeah.
piggyback on you, I'm not ashamed of it. My daughter's in special ed for math. I find Envisions has failed her personally.
Yeah.
It goes too fast, there's too many techniques, everything, too many strategies flying at her, and she can't retain it. And she only can pick pieces. So when she was in kindergarten, first grade, when we saw this issue, she got the support like that. But now she is pulled out of the classroom for other times now because
Yeah, I
the
can only speak to
holes-
the part I've seen.
the holes just got bigger, and what's frustrating is I have two very different students. My son, he thrives and envisions. He's one of those kids that can just grasp it like that, and he loves it. But it's really, really hard for me, and it's a huge struggle. How do we give the support to the parents whose kids are struggling, and we're trying to get them through, and we're trying to help them? And we can't.
'Cause there's
We
no
can't
home- there's no
because
home-based product
There's
for you.
nothing that I have at home
That's right.
that looks exactly like what you guys
Or
have
that
at school.
we
That's right.
learned.
Or that we learned, yeah.
Why did-
I am learning with my kids.
Yeah,
I'm
but-
struggling
right,
through it.
Hold
I'm
on a minute.
trying.
Why did,
I'm
why did
relearning.
math change? Okay, that's my number one question. Why did math change? We talk
STEM.
Common Core, and I hear a lot of people say, oh, you don't understand the concept of Common Core. Well, I work in the business world, okay? Math is my everyday life. I know math.
That's a form
When-
of math, though.
When we, no, let's just talk K through 8, because this is what Envisions is covering. How far do we want our students to get? When we were in school, 8th grade, you might have got to a Algebra 1 level. So, you know, you learn how to count change and do money. And you need addition, and you need a subtraction. You need division and multiplication. That hasn't changed, people. It hasn't changed. The way we teach it
Let's change.
has changed. And we can't help at home, and Kara's right, because now kids got 3 tries. Well, math's right or wrong. Okay, there's a right answer and a wrong answer, and that's the way it is. You come up with the wrong answer, people die. Okay? Well, I'm telling
On the
you.
space shuttle, they do.
That's
That's
how it
correct.
works, okay?
That's
We don't
correct.
get partial credit. Math is one of those things, right or wrong. I don't see growth, and that's what I care about. Whether your child struggles or excels,
Yeah.
I want to see growth. It may be baby steps. I don't care, because you need to learn Part A to get to Part B. Like Ron said, if Ronnie doesn't get Part A, I can't skip and go to Part B. I need help.
Yeah.
But if I get Part A, B, C, D, but I'm still stuck on B because I gotta wait for the rest of the class.
You know, I always
We had a
feel,
problem with growth.
I always feel like the good kids are gonna get it. That regardless of what we do, how we do it, they're gonna make it happen.
But you hold them
But
back.
you have a whole bunch of other kids too, that, geez, you know.
Everybody learns at a different level, and we've forgotten that, and we need to be able to help at home. In this program, I'm going to agree.
That's right.
It's impossible for us who learned 30 years ago. It's still math.
Well, it's not
people.
just
I
that.
don't care how you teach
Can I
it,
can I
it's
just
still
ask,
math.
who else, what other communities have Envision?
Waterville's using it now, Skowhegan's using it now,
Bangor.
Bangor,
Yeah.
have a lot.
I do think it's also the,
Well, it's not-
I think a
I'm not
good
saying
point,
it's a
and then, you know, maybe we can talk more about this, at the curriculum meeting, but there's a couple things going on, which is that parents who are invested in helping their kids don't have the tools to help them. And I'm just gonna say, because I got the shitty PDF, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, you know, and I'm like really technically savvy, and I was like, okay, no. And not only that, I was like, okay, and I again, it goes to that formative assessment portion, which is, you know, I think some teachers have a good way to explain that and then give it back to the parents to decode it in a way. And actually, I want to say, this is the way my kid's 6th grade teacher taught it, and she rocked it. She was like, this is what the book says, but here's another way to look at doing it, right? Like in math, there's more than one ways often to achieve, right? And she understood that, and she understood that math is a creative endeavor in many ways. And so she taught them that so that they were able to apply multiple concepts to solve a problem. They could draw on multiple ways to approach that. So if that worked for one student, right, then that wouldn't, it's like when you multiply and you make your little thing where you're like your chart, or you can remember it in your head. Like, you know, so she gave them pathways for success that I thought were really brilliant in that way. And I worried that when we make math so formulaic, it scares kids. And in this day and age, math is numeracy is like almost more important than literacy at this point for our STEM focus, for what we need to know. For someone who works in computational science, I can say that this is key, but we have to not let kids be afraid of it. So there's one thing about parent tools, there's another thing about understanding assessment, and then we're spending a huge chunk of change for a product. I don't think that we have found out, is it worth that chunk of change? And as a board member, I'm just more like,
What's the cost of it?
I'm interested in just the assessment, how long we would go with it before we would,
Why
right?
don't we look at that as one of the committees?
Yeah.
I'm interested in the growth. I want to see better
Yeah,
numbers.
and I think the,
If this is a program that works, show me the proof. And if it doesn't, then why did math?
Get rid of it.
So
We
I-
started with a question. We're gonna continue with more valid questions.
In
And we're just gonna bring you, we're gonna have more in-depth conversation, answer the questions or not, but this is an opportunity to continue, really.
Yeah,
So-
and we need to understand, I think part of it is, in the questions, we need to understand, right? As both, you know.
Teach us first.
We're not
Well,
educators, yeah.
yes, exactly, like to have a better idea. So when I saw that, I'm like, yeah, that's all bells and whistles, I'm interested. I should have just said, I want to know these 3 things, and that's what I want to
So
know.
what we'll do is, the education committee can
We will
actually
continue,
take that up
yeah.
and continue that in a later
Donna,
time.
I do appreciate your
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and thank you for answering our questions.
I'm happy to answer questions through email.
Yeah,
I know it's-
Yes.
It's just that we, you know, the practice is there,
Where do you work
the
at?
valid questions,
Benton and
I'll
Fairfield
be over tomorrow at 9.
the valid,
No, I'm just kidding.
the valid questions like tomorrow at 9. So we're gonna really, we have to examine it, so that's
Who
valid.
decided we needed a new math? What's wrong with the old
Well,
math?
I remember when we,
If
I
you
don't know
add,
when you guys
subtract,
decided.
multiply,
well, we
divide.
didn't decide, the board didn't decide, the education and curriculum and superintendent decided, so.
I'll find
anyway.
out when we start that.
But it was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and I remember when they first started, I liked the hands-on approach that they, in the.
The tactile
in
aspect.
the younger
Yeah.
grades, I did like that.
Yeah,
So
I will
anyway,
find out
okay.
when we start.
Let's move on.
Okay.
What we're
Thanks,
gonna do is we're moving to new business, but we're gonna jump around just here for a minute, and we're gonna go to, D first. Mr. Brown is going to talk to us, about science, actually. And, grant opportunities, is that what we're,
Well, yeah,
Potential.
potential, okay?
I mean, I was asked to come and present about a piece of equipment that I think was offered to me through a grant. I'm not even positive about that, but I am prepared to do that. And then if we want to talk about grants, there's multiple grants out there for all sorts of
So
different
we're
things.
pulling that back down? Are
We're
we-
gonna try to go back to this. Yeah,
Okay.
mine is
I
very
get it.
short and sweet.
I
and to the
thought was that, we know you're doing a great job, and you're doing doing a great job teaching it. So all we wanted to do really to show the community what you're doing.
For sure, I'm so happy to be here. And I'm so happy to see other teachers here who are given an opportunity to present. I don't know how often that gets to
We can make that
occur.
happen every meeting if you want.
I think
There
it's a
you go.
great idea.
Done.
I mean, I really think it's a great idea. Thank you so much.
I just want to make sure you have sound. Just log in.
Oh, sure.
Teacher talk.
Teacher talk, 2 hours.
2 hours.
Because just, oh, that's the beginning, and that's the end.
Main medical hospital. That's main general or?
How do you want me to show
Main
this
medical,
sound?
yes.
Yes. Go like this, click on it.
Yeah.
100%.
That's going to the projector. Let's have to go to the speakers.
Woo! There's some sound for it.
We don't see any.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
prepared to do all of it. So I think part of inviting teachers to come and talk and present to you guys, you get to those conversations that you just were having, right? And this idea about, well, there are certain kids in every room who may be a little bit behind or even far behind, and there's one teacher with 20 kids. Well, that's not just math. That's
No, I
every
understand. Yeah, we
class,
understand.
every day. So if you can solve that problem, you have
Money.
You have
Money.
solved a large part.
Well,
of
there's
what-
two, I've thought of two ways to do it. Reduce salaries
That's
and hire
tracking.
more teachers, or get more money and hire more teachers, so.
Or tracking.
Well, unfortunately, part of the answer to that dilemma comes to budget. It comes down to budget, right?
Yes,
So if
we
you
know
want to
that.
save every kid, and so do I,
Yeah.
I'm on that team 100%. I just don't know how, I've been doing this for 25 years, and that is one of the major problems. And all of the teachers who are here and who aren't here are trying their best every day to work with those kids, and also to make sure that the ones that are really high and getting things fast don't get left behind and are continue to be challenged.
Yeah.
That's the challenge right there of being a public school teacher.
Yep.
And then if you really want to get crazy for a second, because you were talking about minutes, think about this. There's over 8,000 hours in 365 days. How many hours are the kids in school?
7.
Yeah, but not for 365, it's for 150 days, or whatever.
Yeah, 183 days.
Times 6.
15 times,
180 times 6.
And then we have,
1,000 hours.
6 times.
Okay?
But that's not all
So-
teaching
So
hours.
there are just over 8,000
Well-
hours in 365 days.
How many
We
teaching hours,
get the-
how many
hold on,
teaching
hold on.
hours in that?
Hold on. We get the kids for 1,000 hours a year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to talk about teaching hours, well,
It's even
at the
less.
high school level, you take out 25 minutes for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
You take out 20 minutes for what we call bulldog block, which is
Yep.
supposed to be academic, but isn't always.
Teachers
You
planning
take out
period.
10 minutes for,
Teachers planning period.
well,
No,
I'm
you
just
can't
talking
teach-
about kids.
No, I'm talking about
Kids
the whole
in-
thing, you know, the whole picture here.
So basically, I have my students for about 120 hours a year.
Yeah.
So we're good, but we're not magicians, right? What are the students doing for 7,000 hours a year? And don't tell me they're sleeping, because I know that's part of that 7,000. I say this to my students all the time, they're like, "But Mr. Brown, I gotta sleep." Okay, yes, you gotta sleep.
That's why we need
But
to have
you
full
have-
year school,
6,000 hours. You
all year long. School all year long.
7,000 hours a year where the students are under somebody else's watch. In 2 years, it's 14,000 hours for them and 2,000 hours for us. So we're working our tails off, and we're doing the best we can, and we're having fun with it, and we do it because we love it, and we do it because we love the kids. But we're not magicians.
Right.
We're just not. So if you can somehow lengthen the school day, if you can somehow lengthen the school year, I would love to have them more in my room or in the school. Exactly, so now you're talking about a huge systemic change, which is gonna involve crazy meetings and politicians.
Donald Trump.
And all this other stuff.
All right, let's
So
get back, yeah, let's
I
get
think
back
it's,
to science.
yeah, for sure. I think it's important just to kind of keep that in mind,
Yeah, I appreciate it.
you know? I
Thank
mean,
We still don't know
it
what
takes
to
a
keep.
village, right?
We
It
still
takes a
don't know what
village.
to keep, so.
So I am one of the luckiest persons because, well, for many reasons, but I was given this thing that's called the anatomage table. I'm trying to say that. The anatomage table. And they named it the anatomage table because they're taking the word anatomy and the word images and they meld them together. Right? So this is this unbelievable piece of equipment that sits in my room and has a whole bunch of different views and information about the human body. I kind of blew this one, but I'm Eric Brown. I'm at the Lawrence High School Science Department. I teach human anatomy and physiology, which is my junior and senior elective class. I teach biology to sophomores, and I've been in the same room for the last 25 years, and I love it.
And you got the new science lab?
And it's brand new, so please come and visit. Come and visit anytime. Doors always open. I welcome you. And I would be remiss if I didn't start with a few thank yous. So I want to thank Dr. Baker because I think he was the person who sort of was behind this table. And I'm not sure if it was a grant or if you were part of that or so.
I just used to work across the hall from you.
And we used to work across the hall from each other, right?
So we got this table, when did we get this table?
We got this table in late 2016, the late part of the school year. So basically it showed up in June of 2016. And we had a training in, our first training was in like August of, August of 2016, yeah. And I want to thank Dr. Naiman just for giving me the opportunity to be here, but also to echo what Mark said, which was, it's so awesome to have you around and to come to the pep rally.
Thanks.
And to have all the kids, and plus I've seen you at some field hockey games and all that other stuff. And I really enjoyed the professional development from 2 weeks ago with TFU. So I'm looking forward to that. Of course, Lori Faulkner and the tech team, when the table showed up, they kind of took over and it had to be.
You got the new computer that she gave you, right? I'm just kidding.
And Mark and Carl, because as this is all, they just support me with whatever I try and do. The Anatomage company has been really, really good. They have given excellent support. There was the 6-hour hands-on workshop, that should actually say summer 2016. Updated software regularly, and so far it's been free. I don't know if that changes with the contract or what, but they have tons of online tutorials and a really helpful tech support team in California that answer all my questions. Here's my room. That is the Anatomage table. It's basically 40 inches by 30 inches. It's
Nice, I'm coming to it.
Please do. It is essentially, it is a very large iPad. It's all touchscreen, and the CPU at the bottom has a graphics card that will blow even your mind. It's really, really crazy. And so in the table, what the Anatomage people did is they took 2 human cadavers, one male, one female, and they took digital pictures of everything, inside and out, upside down, and now I can maneuver through this in multiple different ways, multiple different views. There's a digital scalpel where we can make incisions in certain places. I can take everything off layer by layer. I can maneuver the guy or female all sorts of different ways. And we also have MRI views, so basically every millimeter going from right to left vertically and every millimeter going from top to bottom. There's a slice and then a picture. So I can really show my students things that you can't really see in a book. And I was kind of thinking that maybe someday if we were having a meeting at the high school, we would all come in. But I took some pictures of some kids, and they're having a great time. This is a view where we've just removed the skin and the subcutaneous fat, so you can see all of the muscles. I can make it bigger, I can make it smaller, I can turn it around. I can take off all of the soft tissue and get right down to the bones. I left the kidneys just so we could talk about the urinary system if we wanted to. And this is the latest update. It was table 5 and now it's table 6. So I'm just gonna, this comes directly from the M.S.A.D company, and I think it's like a minute long. And then I have another one that's about a minute. They each show a little bit different things. So let's see how it runs. Maybe? Oh.
I know we heard sounds.
Yeah, I know, but it seems like instead of playing, it's advancing. So that just gives you a small taste of the different things that it can do. And then if I can just...
These automatic updates? that you
No,
get, or do we have to buy
no. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure about
Looks
that.
like, isn't that a whole new table or just?
No, that's not a whole new table, so that's the latest software.
Where did we get the grant in the first place, or was it just given to us, or, it doesn't seem like,
Is this instead of fetal pigs, or in addition to?
This is in addition to fetal pigs for me.
Is that still like the base species that they use in
so
advanced
does anybody
anatomy?
know, did we buy this, or did we get a grant for it, or?
Cats?
This is the first time I've ever heard of it,
First time I've heard of it.
so I have no idea.
Imagine
what it
something
is.
new we didn't hear about.
We're excited for him.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's terrific. I mean, I just don't understand how come we didn't know about it.
Do you use in biology, what species, like what levels do they dissect at? Like when do you get to your fetal pig is my question.
Well, so in biology class, we start with, we basically go through evolution.
Yeah,
We
okay.
start with the invertebrates, and we make our way all the way up into the fetal pig.
Okay.
So the 10th graders, they dissect about 10 animals.
Okay, all right.
And in my class, we do strictly human stuff, or mammals, and we dissect an eye, we dissect the heart, we dissect the kidney, we dissect the brain,
Okay.
and then we make it to the fetal pig, which is amazing, and I'd love to have you come in if you could stomach it. It's a week-long dissection, and the kids are given the opportunity to present the information to me any way they want to. And so I get all these crazy, amazing projects. Sometimes it's actually like a children's storybook. Sometimes it's a scrapbook. Sometimes it's something digital. Sometimes it's just an audio recording of their, like a doctor would talk into a tape recorder.
And what did they learn about microscopy? What are they doing, like, so like what, I've never been in the lab, so I should come
Sure.
see the lab.
Yeah, love
Check it
the
out.
question. So right now, in the 2 anatomy classes that I have going on, we're studying histology. Histology is
Yeah, you know, I know.
the study of
Yeah.
tissues, and so there's one day of lecture on epithelial, and then the next day they look at all the epithelial tissues under a microscope.
That's
The next day is connective tissue, and then the day
All
after
all
that is
prepared slides.
What's that?
All prepared slides.
Yeah,
No, they
prepared.
take them off their own body. What, of course.
So this is just one more, I'll just show real quick. This one's even shorter, but what happens with this one is you can actually see somebody with their fingers move, oh no. Play? There we go.
Table makes it easy and simple to manipulate and interact with volume renderings. Use a single touch and make a dragging motion in order to rotate the volume. Use 2 simultaneous touches and make a dragging motion to pan the volume in the drag direction. Make a pinching motion in and out to zoom in and zoom out. Spinning the volume is deactivated by default but can be activated in the Settings tab. Make a rotating motion to spin the volume. Spin function can be deactivated again in the Settings tab. Slice images are easy to control as well. Use 2 simultaneous touches and make a dragging motion to pan the cross-section. Make a pinching motion in and out to zoom in and zoom out. Use 3 simultaneous touches to scroll through the cross-sections.
What level of pathology can they get? Like, what diseases can you load in,
It's
see?
full, to be honest with you, I still have a lot of learning to do myself, because I can't just go home and practice on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
table all the time.
Yeah.
But it's absolute, I could probably never get through all of, you know.
And
how
how do you use it in the classroom? What do you, are you a supplement or?
Yeah, so in the classroom, we can hook it to a smart board, and then I can stand there and maneuver things and show people when they're all sitting like this. And then I also use it when we do move around the room, and there are different islands or different stations, and then everybody gets a turn. But to be honest, really, when it gets used the best or the most is either after school or during Bulldog Block. So I have kids that will come in and really use it and manipulate it because they're interested in something. Somebody sprained a knee during a soccer game, so they want to come in, they want to see exactly where the ligament is and why does it, hurt right at this spot, that kind of thing. So it's good for personalized instruction also. And I just quickly wanted to show, because Haley, who is probably going to be president of the United States someday.
Hope so.
Is she unreal or what? She mentioned my trip to M.A.D last week. And so I just want to, and I know we've been here for a long time, and you guys probably have other things that you have to do, but I just wanted to make sure to say, the chief medical technologist at M.A.D in Portland, our largest hospital, graduated from Lawrence High School in 1998. She was a student of mine.
Oh, wow.
So when I called down there, back up a minute. Marissa Deku, who just had a baby, congratulations, is our librarian, and she is out right now and has been replaced by a woman whose name is Mrs. Fortier. So the first day of her being there, I go in, and I'm a frequent flyer in the library. So I'm like, hey, my name is Eric Brown. You'll see me a lot. She's like, I know you. You taught my kids. So I was like, oh, wow. Well, what is Liz doing right now? She's chief medical technologist at M.A.D. I said, well, I need to get in touch with her. And so I gave her a call, and I said, and then Mark said to me, we need to find some things to do for our seniors on 10/10. I said, well, it's a stretch, but I'll see what I can find out. Anyway, we took 22 kids. That is the president of the hospital's conference room. And we sat around that huge table, and like Haley said, we had a representative from the nursing department, a representative from radiology, a representative from respiratory therapy, somebody from the lab, all come in and talk to these seniors and tell them, you can do this. You can do this. And then I found out one of the contacts there is also a Lawrence High School kid, Christina Bouchard, and she works in the lab. So it was an amazing day, and one of the things that we learned is from one of the sort of head honchos at the hospital, healthcare jobs, we need everything from the, what's known as a phlebotomist, the first person to sort of take blood out of your vein, all the way up to an anesthesiologist. We cannot fill the jobs with the kids that we have in school right now. So it was an eye-opening thing for all of these students. And I don't know if that's my last one.
Thank you.
I think that.
Yeah, that was amazing. I know I was excited to know more about you. I also know that a lot of kids have talked about you and they're excited. So for me, it was, why not have you display for everyone else?
I'm so happy that you did, and I hope you guys will have more teachers come and talk, because there's so much good stuff going on. And I'm serious about having an open door policy. And just real quickly, probably the best tool that I have in my room is a disarticulated skeleton. It's a box of bones.
Yeah.
And it's hands-on with no digital.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Best.
Best tool in your room is you.
Mr. Brown, I have to tell you, I'm
Thank
sure you know this already, that you were one of my daughter's favorite teachers, but you didn't do the job to get her in the medical field.
Hey, yeah, but she's doing great.
She is.
She's doing
But
great.
there's only like 2 teachers that she comes back to see, and you're one of them.
Well, thank you so much.
Yep. We thank you though, very.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Great
Thank
job,
you.
great job.
Thank you.
Thank you for. So, I simply have 2 brief things just to update you on the, I need to continue to get a lead counsel in regard to the marijuana policies. We need to adjust it. And I also just wanted to let you know, we had a series of safety drills with every school, working with the fire department, and that's all I just wanted to let you know.
The marijuana policy thing, I didn't understand what you were trying to adjust.
There, as you know, with the town adopting the local policy, and when you have a federal.
It's legal.
So when that is the case, and you have a bus driver that may.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the CDL thing, but I just didn't know what, I mean, we don't have to worry about
No.
any of that. We don't have a random testing policy other than for the required CDL drivers.
There are a lot that I don't know. I think we don't know the impact of it, so I just want to kind of.
I didn't know if we were trying to start a program, because you
Oh,
can
no,
have
no.
a random testing program
No.
for like teachers or
No, I'm
good
just,
staff
there are a
or
lot of
whatever.
questions in my head.
Oh, okay.
And I'm trying to be proactive, because there are a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So I just want to be proactive and
Okay.
get that. So I'm going to continue that and show it to you. That's all I have really.
Thank you. So we'll go on, other business. Does anybody have, Katie?
Yeah, I was wondering, I've noticed that on the off weeks, on the off school board meetings, that it is moving to 6 to start. Is there any way we can start at 6 for all our meetings? I have a small child at home. I work.
I thought they were staying at 7.
They're staying at 7.
Oh, it says it's starting at 6
That
on
one
the
says it's
15th.
starting at
A
6.
couple of briefings.
Oh,
and
that
Only-
one,
yeah,
the
the only-
November 15th meeting,
The
it's
policy, I
actually,
mean, the-
that's a regular school board meeting, and the reason that's starting is because we're having legal counsel here.
But it seems like occasionally we have been starting at 6.
Yeah,
I was
Just fine, yeah.
wondering if we could start at 6 always.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah,
well, it's
because-
something that we can talk about. I think if my, concern has been anybody that's working and kids in
Yeah.
activities has been an issue, I think. I think that's one of the.
I think
biggest-
6:30 would be more
That was
reasonable.
what I read.
I 6 o'clock would be hard for me often.
So we have to examine the bylaws too. It's in
We'll
the
talk
bylaws.
about it.
But it was something that I brought, actually, I agree with
6:30.
you. 6:30 is the norm with everyone.
I think 6:30 works.
We can talk about it.
Okay.
Definitely valid point. Everyone else doing that.
Yeah, 6:30.
So, so we'll talk about it and we'll bring it up and, put it out there. So, yeah, definitely
But
something
thank
we
you,
can
though.
look at.
That's a good point.
Yep. And, so any other business, anybody else? Yes.
We had talked about doing Thanksgiving dinner for our district, other school districts do it, so I'm kind of behind the 8 ball, talked to Dr. Nyman last week about it. I think what I'd like to try to do is get together with the food pantry, see what kind of need we have, and for this year at least, let's just try to collect turkeys, potatoes, and stuffing, and have families pick up maybe at each school. Dr. Nyman mentioned each school. So I'll get something out, hopefully tomorrow, early next week. And I have plenty of freezer space at the fun park. Now we can plan it better for next year. But at least we can help out the community with some.
I also want to thank you. I know anyone who was involved with the Hall of Fame dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Terry.
Everyone, I think it was absolutely nice to go to Hall of Fame and see people from 20, 30 years talking about the coaches that made the impact. It was really emotional for a lot of people. The folks, the graduates that came back from Texas and they recognized, so there was a lot of work, Tim and Terry and the rest of you guys, but I thought I went to it and I learned a lot about the folks from 30, 40 years that have been here. And great sports, great folks, coaches. The coach that made
Not
it.
teachers, it's everybody, it's teachers.
The field that was named after Mr. Cooper.
Yep.
I learned the impact he had to many kids, and I continue to hear about it, so as a new person to the community, that was amazing.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for inviting us, and that was great, so thanks.
No, thank you for coming.
No, thank
I
you.
think that, and I will, say.
Thanks for the convertible.
Yeah, my husband actually allowed me to drive his convertible, so I drove Dr. Neckerman and Tim in the convertible in the parade. And I was told that nobody else was allowed to drive it, and so I drove it in the parade. Although, I should say, I just kind of let it coast along, because I didn't have to touch the gas at all, so. But yeah, it was fun taking that in the parade. But, what I want to say is Dr. Naaman has done a great job getting out in the community, and I really think that people are noticing that, and I think what's funny is the kids know who he is sometimes more than the parents do. So I think that that's great when you see that with the kids, so I think that has been good. Just because I didn't do it earlier, just a reminder, Box Top for Education, Hannaford Dollars are still going on, and we're getting to that it's getting a little bit colder, so definitely you're gonna need things for the clothes closets, so just a reminder for people to make the donations for that.
Chilly one tonight.
Huh?
Chilly
Yes,
one
definitely
tonight.
chilly tonight. So does anybody else have anything else this evening?
Is this your last meeting?
No.
No.
Oh, shoot.
Not till-
He's got
No, he goes until January.
Okay, for some
He
reason,
had a surprise.
I was like,
He goes till January, so.
where am I gonna sit?
It could be any time now.
I know, I worried where you went, I was like, Jesus, should I be back there resuscitating?
Committee anyway.
So,
I
okay.
sat down next to him and I
Got
was
my
like,
nitro
1
right
and
with
2
me.
and 3.
Okay.
Sherry in the old
Janice?
nitro right
If anyone's looking for something to do on Saturday, we have a group from Camp Capella, which is a camp for handicapped children and adults up in Lucerne, Lucerne. It's behind the Lucerne Inn.
Right.
And we're having a dinner, a supper, and an auction, and a white elephant table, if anyone would like something to do.
Whoa, nice.
Nice, great.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Anything else? I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
Move by Ron, seconded by Kara. All those in favor?
Hey!
I will like it's
Do I need to
11.
buy a ticket or?
Oh,